Hey, this is Michael from Dark Tranquillity, The Halo Effect, and Grand Cadaver, and you're watching Richard the Metal Fan.
Hey, what's up, guys? Here at the Masquerade for the second time this week, and I have the honor and a privilege to speak with one of my favorite bands ever, Mikael Stanne from the almighty Dark Tranquillity. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Happy to be back, finally. It's happening again, and yeah, I mean, we've been out for 5 weeks or something like that. Starting to
Yeah.
be a little fatigued, but other than that, it's awesome.
That's great to hear. So basically, this format is want to go through your catalog. I'll talk about the albums and stuff, but before we go into that, let's just dive right back into the very beginning. What were the first bands that got you into metal, and what made you want to be a vocalist?
It was probably like the local bands in Gothenburg at the time was Grotesque, that later became the Gates.
Nice.
That was kind of cool. I got to see them, and but then it was seeing bands like Creator, Carcass.
Oh yeah, I got like Carcass and Creator on my list.
Yeah, there you go.
Need a Dark Tranquillity patch.
That kind of stuff that inspired me, and then a lot of American death metal, obviously like Florida death metal, German thrash, and a lot of speed metal. That was it, like for me. That's all we listened to, and that's all we wanted to do. And then when I think like in '89, I saw Creator playing Gothenburg.
Oh, nice.
On their Extreme Aggression tour, and I was like, we gotta start a band.
That's awesome. So what were your bands like pre Dark Tranquillity? Because I know you were in Flames and you were in Hammerfall for some at one point. What were like bands before that you were in?
It was during the same time. So I was with In Flames for after that was in '93 or something like that. So we started '89. Then in '94, '93, we had just recorded our first album, and then Jesper started In Flames. And
Yeah.
me to sing.
Yeah, on
then,
Lunar Strain.
Yeah, and then during the same period, Oscar started Hammerfall outside of Ceremonial Oath, which was his main band at the time. And he asked me to sing because we did like this kind of rock contest kind of thing in Gothenburg. That was a really cool thing that we loved to do. So we did it for like 3 years, and that was it for me. But it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. So Dark Tranquillity formed in '89, but then I think it was like '93 you released the debut album Skydancer. How did that whole writing and recording process come to be with that?
Hard to remember, but I mean, it was. We had no idea what we were doing. Like, we put together songs, and finally it started to sound good enough. A really cool Finnish label. We're impressed with some of the demos that we've done, and an EP that we've done, and let us do an album. You know, and being in a real studio for the first time was terrifying. You know, we had no idea what to expect and how to do this, but it was cool. It turned out great. Like there's some really cool moments on that album, but overall, I think we didn't really know what we were doing.
Yeah, I know next year will be the 30-year anniversary of that album. Is there a chance maybe we can get a celebration of that somehow?
We haven't really done any like celebrations of old albums like that, but who knows? I mean, at least we should pick up one song. We haven't played any from Skydancer.
Yeah, I know it was. And then, of course, the next album, Gallery, I think is a fucking classic album. Was there like pressure to follow up Skydancer because it was around the time like Anders went to join In Flames and then you replaced him? It's funny because on Lunar Strain and then at Skydancer you all were on the opposite ends and you switched.
Yeah.
Did you feel like pressure to like follow up?
I don't know about pressure. I think we kind of felt like a new band because we had obviously learned a lot from recording Skydancer, but then we got Fredrik Johansson on guitar, and I started singing, and all of a sudden, like everything changed. We could write faster, better, more cohesive songs, and we really pushed ourselves. And we rehearsed like crazy, constantly, like many times a week for hours and hours on end, just to make sure that it felt good together. And I think like really Fredrik was the main writer on that album.
All right.
I love it.
Hell yeah. And then going to the next album, The Mind's Eye, I think it's a pretty good album. What was it like going from The Gallery, which a lot of people consider it to be one of the best in the Swedish death metal scene, to going to The Mind's Eye?
Yeah, we just wanted to push ourselves even further, like make even faster stuff and more intense songs, more technical. We started touring around that time, like around the Gallery. So we realized like these are the songs that we like to play the most, and it feels like it works with a crowd, and so that's what we did. You know.
And then, of course, the next album, Projector, I think is the next shift in the Dark Tranquillity sound. It was also the first album where you did clean vocals. What was the inspiration, or what did you all decide, like, let's do clean vocals on this?
Well, we'd done it a little bit on Skydancer already, but it was we wanted a big tonal shift in the band. Like, after the Mind's Eye, we felt like we didn't really know where to go. We didn't want to get faster or heavier. We wanted it to be different. So we did, a lot of changes to how we approached the songs, and we experimented a lot in the studio as well, which was fun. That was the most kind of produced album we've ever done, I think.
All right.
And it turned out great. I mean, it's just a big experiment for us, but one that I'm really, really proud of.
Yeah, it almost kind of has like a bit of a gothic metal vibe to it.
Oh yeah, I mean, we were
like
really influenced by that kind of stuff as well. So that's not strange at all.
All right, and then we fast forward to the new millennium. In 2000, you released Haven. Only a time in you guys' history where it was a quick turnaround. Did you all like starting writing Haven right after Projector?
Can't recall just in terms of time frame, but I think we had a lot of songs after Projector was done. We had some spare material, but also we started writing, and it was very different from not very different. It was a continuation of Projector at first, and then we started touring and we tried out some of that material on tour. We realized that it didn't really feel right.
Yeah.
So we went back after a tour and completely tore up all the songs and redid them into what they became on the album. And it was a very strange period for us. And I remember being not very satisfied with the album because of how I had envisioned it in my head beforehand, and it turned out to be something totally different. But,
and I loved like the introduction of like pianos and electronics. It was also the first album with Martin. And how did you hook up with Martin?
We've been friends for a long time. I loved some of his synth stuff that he did with in other bands, and so we had asked him long before that, like if he wanted to join, but he was like, I don't want to do death metal. Like, there's no space for me. But once he heard Projector, he realized that there is space for this. We can do something, So it was great.
That was great. And then flash forward to 2002, we released Damage Done, which in my opinion is like you guys' heaviest album to date, and not a whole lot of people talk about Damage Done.
It's definitely one of the heaviest, and for us it was kind of a return to form. We felt angry, frustrated, and in just the right ways, and it was great recording, I remember, and it was just really easy to just get back into it and not think about too much of a change, just like focus on what we are good at,
Right.
And that was the first time we started touring here as well in 2002. So.
Awesome. What was like that first US tour?
It was fantastic. It was us and In Flames and Sentenced.
Oh wow.
And Killswitch Engage, I think.
Yeah.
It was
That's
awesome
a hell
tour.
of a tour.
It really was.
Did you all play in Atlanta at that time?
Can't recall, but it was a pretty long tour. But no, I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, because I know that you all played like the old Masquerade back in.
Oh yeah, we played the old Masquerade many times. Love
right.
that place.
Yeah, and then going forward to Character, what was that like going from Damage Done, which was like a heavy album, to Character kind of, it's hard to describe it.
Yeah, the Character was the first time where we recorded in our own studio, so that was very different, and we could be in full control over everything. We had a different guy mixing it, and so it felt like a big shift for us, even though maybe musically it wasn't, but it felt like a big change just because we were really we took care of everything about that production.
All right. And then going forward to, in my opinion, my favorite Dark Tranquillity album, Fiction. I just love that album. I was actually listening to it on the way here.
Nice.
Here, what was that whole experience like writing and recording Fiction?
That was it was a continuation of Character. Like, we had kind of settled into writing in our own studio, which we've done ever since. I think we were more confident. I think like Martin Henriksson wrote way more, and he was more confident as well. So there was like this feeling that we're onto something here, and we just keep going, and that was really amazing.
Yeah, and it's crazy. This year is 15 years. Like, I was 13 years old in 7th grade when that album came out. Still classic songs like Terminus, Misery's Crown, and Blind at Heart. Heart, which I think has like the one lyric I love is we are the fire that consumes itself. It pretty much has like a different context now with the world that we're in.
Yeah. Of course, that was stolen from Neil Peart, but yeah.
Yeah, it would be cool if you did like a celebration of that album, like play that in full. That's like my favorite album.
Well, we play a lot from it, actually.
Yeah,
we do.
I was so kind of bummed when I first saw you in 2017. You didn't like do a play. Well, you played most of it. It would have been cool if you did the whole thing.
Oh, we'd never done that. We never played the entire album. Well, we did. We played the entire Moment album, but that was just one show.
Once you get there.
Yeah.
And then going forward to We Are the Void. What was that like following up Fiction?
It was cool because everybody had a very different idea of what the album would be, and instead of like collaborating on songs too much, everybody kind of wrote their own thing. So Daniel, that was playing bass on that album, he wrote 2 songs, and then Niklas wrote a couple of songs, Martin wrote just a couple of songs, and Anders. So it was very different, and I really like that about that album. It's very diverse. Like, songs are very different from each other.
Just one thing I love about you guys.
Yeah, and it really shows a lot of range, I think, and it's really cool. Like, I love it.
Yeah, and then we go into Construct, which another great album. How was that whole writing and recording process?
That was kind of difficult. We recorded in Gothenburg in Martin's studio, but we wrote a lot of songs. We had tons of material for that one, and then I remember we recorded everything like just super clean. Everything sounded crappy and thin and weird, but we just wanted to get like the best performance out of everybody. Yeah. And then we sent it to Jens Bogren, and that was the first time we ever used Jens to mix. And I remember being so blown away by how it actually sounded that it was just a world of difference. And it was one of the best kind of things because it was very long and very difficult kind of recording, full of a lot of conflict and changes and stuff. But then once we heard it, everybody was like, it's worth it. Like, all this trouble we go through to make an album, it's all worth it in the end.
All right, and then we get to the last album, Atoma, in 2016. And I always think that you pretty much evolved from every album, but you still managed to maintain the Dark Tranquillity sound. How do you manage to do that after so many years?
I mean, most of it comes naturally, I think. And then of course we're very, very picky and particular about what ends up on an album. We're really good at throwing things away if it's not good enough, and we change things a lot. Like, if we like it in the beginning, then we will record it, do demos. And then if it doesn't feel good, like 4 months later, we throw it away. So we're very we take our sweet time with it to make sure that nothing kind of gets through that is not 100% what we want.
Yeah, and that cycle was also the first time seeing you guys. Like 2017, you played with Warbringer, and then the last time I saw you all, like almost 4 years ago, you played with Morphus, Moonspell, and Omnium Gatherium. Yeah, that was a hell of a tour, and I've always been a huge fan of. Well, I was before, but seeing you all live then was fucking amazing.
That was great, like really great tours. I loved.
All right, and then we get to your most recent album, Moment, which came out in 2020. Was that intended to be sort of like a follow-up to it, or is that of Atoma, or is that almost kind of like a new start for Dark Tranquillity in a way?
I think a lot of it was a continuation. Obviously, so like Anders Givap wrote the majority of the songs on Atoma, and he continued to do so for Moment as well. But at the same time, Niklas stopped playing with us, and we got Johan and Chris. And
great replacements.
Yeah, couldn't be happier about that, even though I miss Niklas and Martin. But it's so then we had to kind of change it up a little bit and also still maintain our sound. So it was very important for Martin, Anders and I to make sure that we don't change it too much. We don't go full shredder, death metal, whatever, because that's what they can pull off easily, you know. So we started writing all the songs beforehand, and then we kind of invited Johan and Chris into it to kind of do their own thing on it. And so it was really interesting and fun to record like that. And of course, we started early 2020,
Yeah.
And
who knew that the world would take a turn for the worse?
And then the pandemic hit, so we were like just stuck in the studio, not knowing if we were going to record or if we were going to release the album or not. So we just kept recording. So we had another 2 months or something like that in the studio because of it, which was nice.
Yeah, and was there like a preconceived idea making moment, or is it almost to try to like experiment?
I mean, in the beginning, I think Anders had 15 songs or something like that, and there was very much like a theme, one musical theme through it. But then we needed to switch it up a little bit. So Martin wrote a song, and Johan as well, and that made it very, very diverse and different, but kind of cohesive anyway, because we spend so much time kind of doing pre-production and demos of all the songs just to make sure that everything kind of feels right and fits perfectly together.
Yeah, and with every album you've done, I mean, as a fan, if you play me like 10 seconds of a song, I could tell like, oh, that's all. So the gallery or fiction or so on and so forth. Does like every album you've done almost represent kind of like a self-portrait of like who you and Martin and everybody else in the band were at that particular, no pun intended, moment?
Yeah, but I like to think so. It's kind of time capsules, it kind of captures where we are musically and lyrically, and what we're into at that point. And then because if it's 3 years in between every album, basically, that means a lot of things have happened, since the last time, and then that's what we need to kind of recharge and to kind of get that hunger to start writing again,
Awesome. Now, as a vocalist, do you need to hear music in order to come up with lyrics, or do you usually have like a lyrical concept in mind, and that can help determine the outcome of the music itself?
It doesn't change the music, but of course, sometimes when we do like clean parts and stuff like that, Martin will kind of write around it. So if I come up with a basic melody for something that he's writing, then we will change it and switch it and do that. But I mostly write after the music is close to done. That's why we do a lot of pre-production. Just record simple demos first, and everybody's happy, then we will do it for real, that kind of thing. So that's how it starts for me.
All right. Do you tend to leave lyrics open to interpretation, or do you try to engage the listener into what the songs are about?
No, I'm all about leaving it open, because I don't want to be too obvious. I don't want it to be too simple and easy, and also I'm not comfortable always to kind of expose too much about me, I suppose.
Right.
So I like to keep it a little vague.
All right. Can somebody else's own interpretation of the songs may help you look at yourself differently as an artist?
Of course. I mean, whenever I talk to someone who has read and has an interpretation, it will change my appreciation for the song, which means it means something else to someone else, and that's fantastic. That's the way it should be. All
right. And do you usually try to put yourself into a certain mind frame to come up with music and lyrics, or does it just inspiration just come like naturally and organically?
No, I need to be kind of fully focused, alone in my studio, blasting the music super loud, and have a good microphone, and just like try out things, till it starts to feel right. Awesome. But I've been doing so much of that lately. I'm starting to become good at it.
That's great. Right, and being that you do like harsh singing and then clean singing, how do you know when parts do you like, okay, need to scream here, and I need to sing here?
I mean, it just depends on the mood and what what the song kind of needs, Sometimes it's super obvious when Anders or Martin has written a part that it's like of course it's kind of soft and melodic and stuff, and it goes into something heavier, then of course that will kind of inform what I will do vocally.
All right. And kind of going into your live set presence, like, is there like a similar energy to playing live as opposed to recording, or are they almost kind of like two separate entities?
It used to be very different. I used to not like recording albums that much, because you're just sitting there and just like trying to do the perfect take on each song, and it kind of destroys the mood, and it's hard to get that feeling. But we've kind of changed the way we record a little bit, and have it a little bit looser, so you can really enjoy it and try to capture that energy and vibe. So we're trying to merge the two, like to have the studio sessions be similar to the live sessions.
Awesome, awesome, and like I said, this is my third time seeing you guys. Like I know you played with Warbringer, who's more just straight up thrash, and then you did the last 2018. You did a tour with Morphist, which is just like more melodic death metal, similar to you guys. But now you're doing this tour with Cataclysm and Nailed Into Obscurity, or just more just straight up death metal. Do you notice like a different like crowd reaction depending on the tours that you're on?
Yeah, I mean, sure, but that's what's fun about it, you know, to play with like different bands and then try to have like a different combination of bands, you know. Especially now, since it was an absolute pain in the ass to put together a tour, you know, not knowing if it's going to happen or not, like, you know, investing.
Thank God it did happen.
Yes, you know, investing so much money into it, and yeah, so we were been worried constantly for months, you know, about this not happening, or but it felt good. We knew that Cataclysm was cool, but Nailed to Obscurity had a lot of issues with visas and stuff like that.
Yeah, and here the two of the members are right now.
Yeah, they are in the background.
Hey, we're doing an interview.
Hey. That's all good.
Yeah.
So there was like, there were so many times where I thought it was like, this is never gonna happen. There's no way, but it did.
Yeah. Yeah, and now that Moment's being almost two years old, are you all started working on the next Dark Tranquillity album?
We have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of stuff already. Johan, I know, has been working really hard, and Martin as well. So I'm really excited. But we're gonna tour like crazy now that the world is back to somewhat normal.
Yeah, definitely.
Things.
I know, like Biden just announced, like pretty much, like COVID's not a huge, big thing here in America.
And that's what we noticed. I mean, we've been here now for 5 weeks, and I thought it was going to be, you know, semi-lockdown, but it's been cool. We've been super careful, of course, like masks everywhere, and make sure that none in the touring party gets sick. Yeah. And so far,
you're almost to the finish line.
Yeah.
And I noticed like last year, of course, Anders Yvarp and Anders Ivers left, and then now you got Yokim and who else is replaced?
Christian Jansson is the bass player, and but he couldn't make this tour. Like he had a medical issue.
Oh shit! I hope he's okay.
He's fine, but he just needed to be home for some checkups, and that really sucked. So we were like, and that was 2-3 weeks before the tour was supposed to start, and there is no way to get visas for anyone else.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, what do we do?
Somebody else to slap at a bass.
Yeah. So we, but our tour manager toured here with Insomnium a couple of years back.
Nice.
When Nilo, the singer and bass player, had to stay home with his kids. So they needed someone to fill in, and they found a guy from LA, Mike Bear, and he took over the bass and vocal duties, fronted the band without having met them or rehearsed at all. So we were like,
that is insane.
That is the
How is that even possible?
Honestly, I don't know, but that's the kind of guy we needed. So we asked him, and he was like, yeah, sure. And we had 26 songs, and he learned them in 2 weeks, and he plays it perfectly every night. It's insane. He's fantastic. So it's such a lifesaver.
Yeah. And will Yokim and Chris ever be like official members in the band?
I mean, we always work on that. That's the idea. Okay. But we just we're kind of lazy about that, and I don't know how important it is, if it's official or not, that kind of thing. But it's working fantastically well right now.
Awesome. And then kind of switching topics, I know also you started a new band called Grand Cadaver. How did you start Grand Cadaver? Well, we were sitting around like as COVID started, and a friend of mine who lives 2 houses away was like, hey, I had this project with some friends of mine in Stockholm. It's like, do you want to join? It's old school death metal. It's like, all right, cool, let's do it. And he sent me some songs, and I did some demos, sent it back, and he said, oh, this is fantastic. And then that's what we did. So we recorded an EP first. Yeah, Into the Maw of Death. Yeah. No, that's the album. The first one was what the fuck is called? First the 4-track EP, but then we were like, and Alex, who writes the music, he's super fast, and he writes songs in hours. Oh wow! So he just sent it to me, and I write the lyrics and vocals in a couple of hours, and then we're done. So we recorded an album in 6 days in total with everything. That's crazy, 6 days. And it's Daniel Liljekvist from Katatonia plays drums, and Christian Jansson on bass, and so it was, yeah. And I recorded all the vocals in 1.5 days. Wow. So it's so much fun.
I mean, it's a great bunch of guys, and I love the music, and I love singing songs like that, and just screaming about stupid zombie shit. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and then of course you also have the Halo effect, which I've only heard the 2 songs, Shadow Minds and Feel What I Believe.
Yeah.
And that's fucking awesome. Like, a lot of people saying it's like when old members of In Flames make a band that's better than In Flames. Like, I just was hearing those songs, I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. And I've already at least hooked on those songs.
Fantastic.
How did you form the Halo effect? Because I know it's you, Jesper, Nicholas, Peter, and Daniel.
Yeah.
You know, how did you all decide to form the Halo effect?
It was first me and Nicholas talked about doing something together, because he was kind of restless, and we always talked music and compared albums and bought albums for each other and that kind of stuff. So we're like, it would be cool to do something. And then Peter called me. It's like, I hear you talking to Nicholas about like forming a band. Like, me and Daniel might be into it too. And we were like, really? I was like, really? What the fuck? Seriously? That would be so much fun, because I mean, I meet Peter all the time, and Nicholas I haven't seen in a bit. Daniel I see at his brewery, and then we said, oh, maybe we get Jesper as well, and that's kind of how it worked. So and Nicholas is really productive, and he started writing songs, and him and Jesper started like having writing sessions, and I was demoing at home, and we did a couple of demos, and the first songs that we wrote or finished was Shadow Minds and Feel What I Believe. And we were like, yeah, we're onto something here, and it felt good. And then we recorded an album for 6 or 7 months, which was crazy, but it turned out fantastically well, and it's coming out after the summer. But
yeah, I was literally going to ask about when it's going to release. So I'm looking forward.
It's in August, but it's it's not an official date yet. But
I'll keep my eyes peeled for the pre-order, because you deserve my money.
It's a lot of fun, and I'm really happy with the way it came out. But it's weird to start a kind of like a new band from scratch like that. Yeah, you know, even though we know each other, and
hyped up for it. I am.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, but it's been a lot of work, but really cool. So I'm looking forward to that. So we're gonna have our first shows in the summer, and then we're gonna tour in September.
Yeah. Hope you all would make it over to the States.
We will eventually. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. So before we go, just want to thank you so much for this interview. It's just anything else with Dark Tranquillity, Grand Cadaver, and the Halo effect you would like to promote?
Now now it's just gonna be touring for this whole year, and that's the plan. You know, and there's more Halo effect singles coming, and then the album in August. It's gonna be super cool, and I'm gonna be very busy this year.
Hell yeah. So anyway, thank you, Mikael.
Thank you,
everybody. Mikael from Dark Tranquillity, Grand Cadaver, and Halo effect. We'll see you next time.